Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk about leadership in boutique retail um, locations, right? So we're talking wireless retail, we're talking AV, we're talking, well, I mean, for that to move so much, appliances, pretty much anything outside of what your traditional big box retailer is. And that's where we have a lot of different mindsets. We have a lot of different things that we could do to truly become successful. Here, let me just put this on silent because I don't want it ringing. I've been getting a bunch of calls lately. So it's one of those wonderful, wonderful things that's like, okay, guys, why are you all blowing me up right now? Um, there we go. All right, we are on silent. Um, And the thing is, right, with big box retail, you typically have a lot more structured environment when it comes to leadership. I'm not going to say they're perfect by any means. They are far from perfect. Trust me. I've been part of a few billion-dollar corporations and they are very far from perfect, but they have a lot more structure in the way they bring up their leadership. Okay. Definitely not focused on sales, definitely focused more on operations than anything else. And they wonder why sales are always like one of the hardest things or why they can't really nail it when it comes to sales. On the flip side, when we're talking about more boutique environments, we're talking smaller companies where they may not have the environment, they may not have the budget or the foresight to know that, hey, we need to focus on training and development to really make this a big part, integral part of what we offer. Because that's going to make our life easier in the long run when we're either growing or when we want to or are in need of new leadership. Instead of struggling to find leaders that have to come from the outside in and have to learn from the ground up, just like a new hire would, they come with the background of the organization already and can see where we do need different pivots to make things a lot easier. Not to say that person from an outside perspective won't be able to do the same thing, but they have a much longer on ramp period to be able to do anything. Because if they come in from the outside trying to make changes right away without understanding the culture or the organization at all, we all know what happens. They hit a brick wall and they can't go forward. And when it comes to your leadership, one of the biggest things that you're going to focus on is making sure that your people do well and can become better at what they're doing. And this is going to be a take that you guys may not like, right? But the truth is, as DMs, as area managers, as regionals, sometimes you have to take the focus away from your struggling reps first. Okay. And this is where you don't want your team to get stuck because sometimes we come in and we say, you know what, I'm going to focus on the worst performing rep and get them to turn around, and that's going to be my success story that everybody can go after. The issue though becomes that sometimes these reps are not very receptive, either because of the frame of mind that they're in or something's holding them back. So they're not going to be oftentimes very receptive to what you're going to say because they also feel like you're singling them out for a purpose, for a reason, i.e., you're trying to fire them. And that's where fear typically will come in. Uh, so don't do that, right? That's kind of ass backwards, you might think, in leadership thinking. Well, why wouldn't I want to focus on my least performing reps? That way, either I get them to perform better or I get them out of the business so I can focus on other things. The issue becomes, and you're not giving them any kind of wins. Start with focusing on your most receptive reps, not the struggling ones per se. Focus on the ones that are more receptive to what you have to say, to whatever changes you're bringing. The reason is your struggling reps are suffering from not enough confidence yet in what they're doing. Okay. They could have been great performers. Something happened. Now they have a lack of confidence in their skill set. Something happened that kind of took them out. And they're not in that mindset where they will be receptive to any kind of coaching situations at the moment. So that can cost performance, morale, and also momentum if you're focusing on just that, right? What you want to do is focus on giving confidence through small wins. And this is where focusing on the people that are most receptive, that are more open to coaching, they aren't typically going to be your top performers because top performers already have what they need to do. And if you're coming into a new territory, a new market, and you're trying to go after your top performers, like, hey, let's get your performance even better. they're going to look at you like what the fuck are you doing? Leave me alone. My numbers don't suck. Don't touch me type of situation, right? But those members, those employees that you have, those salespeople that are more receptive, more open. Obviously, you know this through talking to them, by spending time at the locations when you're first starting out. And you see, okay, these people are a little bit more receptive to coaching. They're more open to the ideas I have. So let me focus on them. Let me build early wins with them so that we can have some momentum started, so that I can create some type of social proof to be able to raise the bar throughout the entire team, throughout the entire market region organically, not forcing it, right? Because then, hey, you know what? We've been doing this over here at this location, so and so, their performance has been up 20, 30%. They're doing great, right? Not only is their performance up, but their commission is actually up 40% because they've been focusing on things that matter the most. That not only makes the money, but also focuses on the KPIs. And that's why we're doing. So now your employees are a little bit more on the struggling side, are going to be more open and okay, what are you doing? Because they're not stressed, they're working less and they're making more. Remember, guys, that's one of the key crutches I have when it comes to the way I approach my teams is I want to find the way that I can help my teams make the most amount of money by working the least amount. It's not about working hard 24/7. It's not about the whole hustle culture. Hustle culture is bullshit, guys. Okay. Nobody is on 100% of the time. Hustle means that you work when you work, but you're not overworking yourself. If you're working 60, 70, 80 hours, you're wasting time and you're focusing in on time that's not productive. You're focusing on tasks that are a complete waste of your time, that aren't leading you and your team to greater heights of success. So instead of focusing on stuff that's wasting your time, find the stuff that's actually going to be producing better for you with lower inputs, lower amount of energy required. And that's going to help not only your leadership transform, but it's also going to help your team's performance transform. Because now they understand, okay, if I want to make more money, I want to work less, I want less stress. Who doesn't want that in the job? You mean I don't have to talk to you very often? Guys, be real, right? A lot of our employees don't want to talk a lot to us because they oftentimes those conversations they have with the executive leadership team isn't great. It's, performance based. Why do your numbers suck? What are you doing that you can't, what are you doing that you can do better? Okay. We want to take that away. We want them to know that conversations with us means that we want them to succeed. We want them to become better at what they're doing because their success as salespeople directly correlates to my success as a leader. I'm focused on them winning. I'm not focused on me winning. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to bring to light. And it's essentially following uh, the first follower mindset, right? As a leader, your most important thing that you can do is to foster your first follower. Your first follower is really a form of leadership that's underappreciated because they're the ones that are going to be helping express what's going on to others to allow others the opportunity to actually follow you as a leader. Because they see, hey, this person is winning, this person is doing it, this person is actually being successful, we're having fun with this. I want to be part of that. And then that's when everybody starts to swoop in. When you have that first follower, then you'll have a couple people jump in, and then the rest will jump in. And before you know it, it's kind of like herd mindset, mob mentality. Everybody wants to be part of the group because they want to be part of what's going on. They want to be part of what's in. It's just it's human nature to do that. Okay. That's one of the biggest things. And then this will also lead you to be more proactive with your leadership instead of reactive when it comes to coaching. Coaching should never be our numbers suck. We need something to get this up. No, when things are good, when numbers are high, when KPIs are solid, that's when you want to focus in on the most on coaching. Why? Because that's when we get the laziest. So if you're focusing in on that during regular on time, right? When things are good, things are solid, we don't have to worry about numbers. When it comes to things that are like on the horizon for us with supply chain, with tariffs, we don't have to worry about as much on the number side because we know we are doing everything we can to make our team successful. So they're going to be as successful as they can with what they have available to them. And that's where we want to go. Don't treat it as though you're doing coaching because it's damage control. It's a fire drill. That's the worst thing you can do as a leader because then you're being reactive. You're not trying to forecast what's happening. As an executive leader, as a district manager, area manager, regional director, VP, your focus is to be proactive and to forecast what is on the horizon, what we need to do to change things if the forecast is off, right? Halfway through the year, you know what? We need to pivot because things are changing a lot faster than we thought they were going to change, and we need to make these pivots now before this comes to fruition. So, this is what we're going to focus on. And you focus on coaching, you focus on training and developing your people. This is what we're going to need to do to make sure that we can head this off so that when it does happen, or if it does happen and it comes to fruition, we're not cut, with our pants down, our heads cut off like a chicken, and us trying to figure out what the hell is going on. No, we're ahead of this. We're being proactive with what we need to do, and we're going to come out on top as much as we can. You do that through having a coaching schedule. Okay. Make sure it's something that, and your companies may not have this, but make sure it's something that you keep track of, kind of like a mini dashboard outside of whatever the KPI dashboards that you use are. Know who you've coached, how many coaching sessions you've done with them. Train your trainers. Make sure your local leaders, your store managers, your assistant managers are also adept at coaching. That's the most important thing that you can do because, yes, you as a leader are one of the biggest coaches on your team, but as a head coach, you also have different coaches on the team, a defensive coach, offensive coach, that they focus on other aspects. Your local leaders are that. They spend more time with the individual players than you will because you're focused on the macro picture, you're focused on the big picture. So they will have more time to focus on the individual players and will be able to do more coaching sessions better tailored to those individuals. So you need to make sure that they're up and able to be coached and are being coached properly so that your teams can win. So know how many, coaching sessions they've done, who they've done it with as well. Because when you do your visits, like we talked about the other day, you're going in with a coaching mindset. This is a coaching visit. It's not just a regular check-in visit. We're not just checking off and pencil whipping things. We're coming in. I want to make sure you guys are successful. So what do I need to do? Who do I need to speak with? Who's going to be, who am I going to make the most of my visit with for this session? And let me focus on those individuals, and then we can get going. Okay. Because oftentimes, too, sometimes individuals need another voice, right? As you progress in coaching, you will understand that you speak to people differently based on who they are. And your leaders are also going to have to learn that. And oftentimes they're so used to, well, no, I'm the boss, you're the employee, you need to work around me, you need to understand my language. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works anymore, guys. We need to understand that we have the right form of communication going towards them so that they can get the most out of that conversation. And we do that by allowing them the majority of the talking time and we just guide the conversation. That's where real coaching happens. Be proactive in coaching your people. Don't be reactive. Okay. Coaching trains reps to solve problems before they become an issue, before we need to do fire drills, before we need to, start blowing up phones and text messages like, why is your numbers down? What's going on with this? What do you need to do? Okay. Because that's the most annoying thing on an employee side and on a leadership side. I shouldn't need to reach out to every single individual when shit hits the fan and they're not performing. I'd rather be reaching out to them like, hey, congrats on, hitting your goal. You said you wanted to attain this and you did it. Great. You know, anything I can do to support, um, I'd love to have you talk on the next meeting and offer your insights into what's been helping you. You want to give them the spotlight. You want to give them the opportunity to shine. And you'll be able to do that throughout the entirety of your team. You would be surprised how many of your salespeople who you thought were not coachable or couldn't perform, when you spend a little bit of time coaching them properly, how well they'll perform and how well they can communicate that messaging of what they did that worked for them to others for others to be able to take and run with it. And then have those people unlock their skill sets because it was just one minor tweak that gave them that aha moment. And that's a beautiful thing about hearing the same essentially conversation from different voices. Now, that becomes super important. Remember, guys, you can't coach everyone the same. Everybody takes information differently. I've said this plenty of times. You can have the exact same conversation in a group setting with five different people, and there will be five different outcomes of that conversation. It's just human nature, guys. So, struggling reps need small, specific habits that you have to help cultivate. That's all it is. It's not that they're bad performers, it's that they need help cultivating the right habits. And if you're not spending time training and developing them, you're not spending time helping them create and actually make those habits habitual. Okay. Have those habits stick. Top reps need to be pushed into leadership readiness. Not everyone in your sales team is going to want to become a leader, but having that skill set available to them is going to make them more apt to want to take that if a position actually does line up. Maybe they get tired of having to go after quotas and they just want to spend more time. They find it more pleasing that now they've actually helped coach a few people, a few of their peers, and they find that more gratifying. And they want to go into that because they actually see how they can help other people become successful. That is when you start building up your leadership pipeline. Guys, coaching will not only help your teams become better, but you're going to train and develop your future leadership pipeline. That is where the real power in this is. Yes, your teams are going to perform. But when you have a leadership pipeline ready, I don't have to worry about fucking taking a week or 2 weeks off. I'm getting blown up on emergency calls when I'm out of the fucking country. I don't have to worry about that because I have adept leaders who can take my role. And within an organization, what that means is that I am more aptly looked at to get promoted. Not that, oh, okay, Omar's trained people that can replace him. Let's get rid of him and put those people in place. No, it's he's trained how many people that can do his role? We need more of him. What can we do? You would be surprised how many companies would be willing to create a position for you. I've had that happen for me multiple times in the past where there is a position specifically made for me to run into and go take it because of the skill sets I brought. That's what you want to get into. That's what you want to do for yourself. And that's why I believe that small businesses have a lot more potential for growth than larger corporations. And there's more room, flexibility, and you'd be surprised where a lot of these companies can offer more than what larger corporations would. They just have to see the benefit. Okay. So stop trying to fix people. That's not coaching. It's about growing what's already working and redirecting what's not. It's as simple as that, guys. If you're wondering, Omar, how can I help get this to become better? How can I actually do this with my teams? How can I step up my coaching as a leader? Glad you asked. Take a look at the link in the bio. Take a look at the link in the description, depending on where you're watching the video. Grab that 15-minute framework. It's a free PDF download for you to be able to use to get you started on your coaching or to reaffirm or establish a coaching habit. And it uses the power of visualization, written commitments, and also dialogue coaching, right? Because a lot of the conversation, as I mentioned, is them, the employee, speaking 80% of the time, taking ownership of what's going to happen, and you learning to shut the fuck up. That's a very hard thing, but just like in a sales environment, if you're talking the majority of the time in a sales interaction, you've lost. You gotta let the client, the customer, do the majority of the talking, realize why it is that they want it, and then focusing on assisting them towards what they're needing, towards those goals. Okay. So don't focus on scripts, focus on frameworks. Frameworks are a lot more flexible. and give everybody the ability to adapt to changes and make pivots a lot easier. So, guys, stop jumping into firefighting mode, stop doing fire drills, be a proactive leader, not a reactive leader. Focus on coaching, train and develop your team, and you're going to see success come to fruition through those efforts. As always, guys, I want to say thanks again for taking your time and stepping in to another episode with us here at the Sales Manager Academy podcast. I'm Omar, and I'll catch you on the next one.